You're right guys, this is going to be a bit of a follow-up to my last video where I was making my first cut on the panta router. Now if you saw that video, you'll know what's been going on. If not, check the link down in the description so you can go and watch that one and it'll fill you in with a bit more info. But I basically got this just to practice with. It's not sponsored in any way because I'm actually going to be doing a demo at Makers Central at the NEC. All the information about that is in the description as well. But I basically asked you to give me some ideas about what I could do for a quick project while I'm at the NEC. I'd originally said a lamp. I've had suggestions of shoe racks, of children's chairs, of wall art and lamps as well, but I've decided to settle on doing a table. Now a table is dead simple, it should be quick to do. I'm going to be doing mortise and tenon joinery for the legs and for the stretchers, but I'm thinking for the top and for 4 of the stretchers I'd like to have a contrast. So I'd like 2 different colours to combine together, and I'm thinking of using finger joints. I have done 2 tests off camera. This was the first test that I did and I'm really pleased with how it turned out the very first time right off the machine, and it's gone together absolutely perfect. I put a bit of stain on so you can hopefully see the difference in contrast, but it goes together really nicely. It's a nice snug fit and it's all nice and flush as well, and that's the main thing. So over here at the panta router now, as you can see, I've installed the dust hood this time. I didn't have that on my last video so you can actually see what was happening, but it has made a huge difference in dust collection. I don't have to worry about the chips now. There's just a tiny amount that makes it through onto the table. As you can see, I've got a 6mm bit installed. This is a spiral up cut bit as well, and I've also got the box joint template put on the back here that the bearing follows and goes in and out of. And of course, as you can see, I've got my hoover hooked up to this as well. I've got the fence in place as well, and it's already centred up for the softwood. As you can see, I've already stained this softwood so it should show the contrast, and I've got a stop locked in place, so I'll just have to put them in place and I don't have to worry about the setup now. It's all done, it's all set up ready to go, so I can batch through these. So I'm going to get this first one cut. As you can see, I've got my depth set, and that's how far the bit will be going in. I don't want it going too deep just for this. I think it offers enough strength and it offers enough of a contrast to show. As you can see, it's going to be the exact same depth that I've got on this cut, and I think that looks plenty enough. So let's see how we go. And there's the results. Nice and clean cut. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut all of these stained pieces first, and then I'll show you what you have to adjust so you can get the mating piece to end up flush. Right, so I've got all 4 of the stained versions cut. Now I need to cut the plain versions. Now obviously we want these to end up flush, so we need an offset. Now because I'm using a 6mm bit in the router, I need a 6mm offset. Luckily the shafts that hold the bearings for the guide part on the panta router, these are 6mm. So I can put these in place and use these as my spacer. So now obviously it's 6mm away from the fence, so I can get that clamped in place. Remove the spacers, and that should end up flush now. I think that's pretty spot on, don't you? Like I say, it's not the nicest wood, but it's a pretty good joint. Hopefully this shows up actually decent on camera, but in person it feels and looks spot on, and I do really like the contrast. Imagine this all the way down on the top of the table and obviously for both sides. I think that this will look really nice, and as you can see, the joints, it's a no-brainer. Once it's set up, you can just make the repeated cuts and they'll all be exactly the same. Spot on, that is. Right, with the 4 stretchers all cut for the box joints and joined together now, these are still loose, I'm not glued, I just want to do this as a test obviously. But what I'm going to be doing next is going to be doing the mortise and tenon joinery. Now in my last video I showed all the setup for setting up for the tenons and for the mortises, but I'm going to go ahead, cut the mortises on the legs. As you know, this is just a rough practice for my demo at Makers Central at the NEC. Myself and Peter Sefton have decided to use some nice cherry and walnut for the actual table. Not only that, but we will be auctioning off the finished table to raise money for the Birmingham Children's Hospital. The hospital is very close to both our hearts, and I'm sure many of you out there know all too well the work that they do. Of course, I'll be sharing more information about the demo, the finished table and the auction when it's all up and running. Be sure to follow my social media for regular updates throughout Makers Central. Now it's time to cut the tenons. So those are going to be cut on the stretchers, and of course these have already got the box joints put in. I've got a stop set up here so I can put them in at the exact same distance from the bit, and I've also got a couple of clamps to hold it down in place and the fence in place as well to make sure it's centred on the line on the table. Now it's just a case of following round with the bearing around the outside of the tenon template. And now I can try and fit on that. Looks pretty good to me. Now as you can see I've got quite a bit of chip out, but that's because this is just cheap old plywood. I could have put a backer top and bottom so that would have stopped the chip out, but for this demonstration it'll do. As you can see with it centred up, the template doesn't quite go far enough to complete all the finger joints on this. Now I'm not too sure about the indexing for how to move it along. Of course there is a way to index each pin, so as you move it along you could do like an infinite board if you wanted to, but to keep this simple I think I'm just going to cut these off and have them staggered for each piece. When I'm demonstrating at the NEC I can ask Caldy what his opinion is on the best way to index these, but for now I just want to try and get this done, so I'm going to opt to do that. Actually I've literally just moved it along and indexed it to the bit. Obviously I've got the bit turned so it's at its widest point, but it seems to be pretty close. I can hear a slight catch on each one, but I'm going to see how it goes. You never know, it might work, it might not, but that's what I want to try this for. Well, the indexing worked really well, literally just putting the bit into place and then making sure it matches up and just cutting it. It went nice and simple. Now as you can see I've put it together off camera and I can't seem to get it apart again. I did have to hit it with the hammer to get it to go in, but the joints, obviously excuse the plywood because that's all chipped out, but they're really tight, and as you can imagine the surface area I'm really struggling to get it apart, so rather than risk breaking the plywood I'm going to leave it like this. And I'm sorry about that, I should have really filmed putting it together, but you can see it worked. So laid out here I have all the pieces for the table. Well, I say all the pieces, I ran out of this test material, so I've only got 2 of the stretchers that are solid. So there's got to be 4 of these, 2 plain coloured ones and 2 stained ones, and of course that will be 2 lots of cherry and 2 lots of walnut on the actual table itself. Then there's 4 stretchers that get joined together as box joints. As you can see, you've got the contrast between them, and they go together really nice to create a nice strong joint and a really nice looking contrast too. Then you've got the 4 legs. Again, 2 lots of cherry, 2 lots of walnut in the actual table. I've got 2 stained and 2 plain here. And then the top itself. As I said, I can't get that apart, the joint is that good. I'm going to break it if I do because it's only cheap plywood, so I can't show you it going together, but at least you can see that it works and you can get the idea of the contrast too. So let's get it put together now. So that's it then guys. Like I say, it's missing the top 2 stretchers purely because I ran out of materials, but those are just solid pieces and those will correspond with the species of wood for each side, or in this example, which side's stained and which side's left plain. I'm really impressed with how the top looks. I love the finger joints on this. It's a great contrast, and I think following along with the finger joints on these centre stretchers will finish it off nicely. Like I said, halfway through the video, while I was filming this, we decided to go ahead and use cherry and walnut for the official table. That's what's going to be used at the NEC demo. I want to say a massive thank you to Peter Sefton and Woodworkers Workshop. As you can see, the Pantarota has gone back to them now, but thanks for letting me get my hands on with it and giving it a try out before the demo at Maker Central. All the information for Maker Central is in the description, and there'll be a link to the Pantarota at Woodworkers Workshop. Like I say, these videos wasn't sponsored, it was just to give me a chance to see what it was like and get a feel for it, and it's a fantastic bit of kit. There's so much potential with it and I really enjoyed using it, even if it was for something so basic as this. And like I say, when the demo table is done at Maker Central, it's going to be auctioned off to raise money for the Birmingham Children's Hospital. I haven't got details about the auctions or anything yet, but it's a cause that's very close to mine and Peter's heart, so it really means a lot to be able to give something little back in this way. But when I do know more details about how the auction's going to be run and everything like that, I'll be sure to put a quick update video on my channel, but I'll also be talking about it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. So you want to follow my social media so you can be sure you don't miss it. It'd be great if you could get involved and share the auction details once they become available. Every little helps obviously, and they're a great cause. They do so much for so many people, so it'd be great to help them out. That's it then guys, I'll see you at Maker Central. Thank you all for watching these Pantarota videos. I know they've been a little bit different, but I've enjoyed using them, and hopefully you've enjoyed getting to grips with how it actually works and get an idea of what it can actually do. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.